Hey everybody, Joe from Britical Saiyans here, and today I'm going to be going through my green Brody deck profile once again, but this time it's the version I took to Euros. I did have to improve it after the last one because, mirror wasn't working out, and as pointed out, so were a bunch of the skills. It's like, oh, oops. But this one seems to have worked out a lot better and is quite fun. So anyway, start with, we'll talk about Lee. So he has permanent object counter-attack battle cards. His auto is when it attacks, both players choose a card from their hand and place it in the drop. So you both discard a card. But I think because it says place in drop, it doesn't technically count. Well, yeah, it would trigger Tau. I have to double check this. And on 4 life, you draw 2 cards. Let's go into this side. So he keeps the permanent of not being able to attack battle cards, which, okay. I just checked my copy, man. I was like, wait, does it? Because even though we've done all the regional stuff, it's like it took a day or two to our brains. And yeah, its autos when this card attacks, you draw. And then both players choose 1 card from the hand and 1 card in the battle area and place them in the drop. So it doesn't KO. Learned that today. Just kidding. Doesn't KO, and it does go straight to drop. So anything that's like when this card's, so if it's like when this card's KO'd, doesn't trigger. But if it says when it's removed from the battle area, it does trigger because technically it is moving from. So anyway, as always, starting with the extra cards, we have 3 copies of Brody's Ring. So this is 1 drop, well, 1 cost field that has a permanent of your hand is not affected by your Brody leader card skill. So you don't have to discard basically, as long as you have Brody's Ring. Again, only running the 3 because we have an easier way to search it and we don't want too many extra cards in the deck. Next, we have a one-off of For the Greater Good. So this is a counter attack. If your lead is green, you negate the attack, then choose which one of your opponent's battle cards with an range cost of 1 and KO it. So it's not likely to pop anything, but it's just good to play because you can use it from your drop area by paying the cost and removing itself plus a green card from the game. However, you can only use it once per turn, but technically you get 2 uses out of it at all times, so that's 2 negates right there, which is nice. Next, we have 2 copies of the Shocking Death Ball. Again, a counter that negates the attack, then choose one of your opponent's battle cards with an range cost of 2 or less and KO it. So this is a bit of easier board removal for the deck, and because it's sparking, it means we don't have to worry about having the energy for it. Next up is our final attack negate for the deck, which is 2 copies of Wrathful Charge. So again, leader's green, negate attack. Then you may choose one of your battle cards and place it in the drop. If you do, your opponent chooses a card from their hand and place it in the drop. So yet again, some discarding and a different kind of negate because this one hits the hand and it can get rid of something on the board that you don't need or that you want in the drop. And finally, for the extra cards, we have 2 copies of Hidden Power of the Saiyans. So this is a 2 cost counterplay. If your lead card is green, your opponent may place the battle card they're playing in their drop area instead of actually hitting the field. If they don't, they instead discard 2 cards. So it's kind of like an alternative. They either have to dump 2 to keep the card and play it out, or just go straight. And of course, if a card just goes straight to drop area, it doesn't get like autos or on-play skills because it's not been placed. So they can't do anything about it. Ideally, you just play it when they've got basically bugger all in hand. It's like, well, there you go. So, start with the battle cards now. I'm going with our 1-drops to begin with, as always. We have 4 copies of Brody, Dawn of the Rampage. So it's 1 cost card, Its auto is when you play this card, you look at up to 7 from the top of your deck, add a green birdie from among them to your hand, then shuffle your deck. So, our obvious search power for all our birdies, which is really useful. Next, we have 3 copies of Infernal Emperor Freezer. So, he's a 1-drop 10k, and his auto is when you play this card. Oh, sorry, just a bit of a burp and a hiccup there. When you play this card, you choose up to 1 card in your life and add it to your hand. So it's our Self-Awakener, and like I said before, I could go to Gohan against crit, but I kind of prefer it for our leader, because when we're on this side and we have to KO something, it's like, oh well, we can easily get rid of Freezer. And again with Rifle Charge, Freezer's a good target. So, but it's pretty good nonetheless. Next, we have 3 copies of Trunks Bridge to the Future. So, when you play this card, you look at 2 cards from the top of your deck, choose which one Saiyan among them, add it to your hand, then place the rest of the cards in the drop area. So if you see no Saiyans, they both go. If you see one, you add one. Simply as, it's just a way to search up Paragus and any other Saiyans we haven't hit just yet. Well, Brody basically. And finally on our 1-drops, we have 2 copies of Urgent Aid Kami. So here's the auto of when you play this card, you draw a card, and then auto of once per turn, when your opponent switches energy to active mode using a non-awakened skill during their turn, choose up to 1 of your opponent's energy and place it in the drop. So basically if it's sensitive being really, or anything else of that similar power, you're just like, nope, let's get rid of 1. Which of course is always a nice bit of punishment. And it's good to have in the main deck over the side deck, because you can easily swap it out if your opponent doesn't use those sort of skills. So next, going into our 2-drops, we have 4 copies of our super combo Ever Dependable Bulma. So she is auto when you combo with this card. If your leader is a Shenron or a green Saiyan and your life is at 5 or less, you draw and she gains 10,000 combo power. Like I said before, I prefer using a life-based one over a sparking one, because it's easier to get stuff. Well, it's easier to get yourself to 4 in this deck than it is to get stuff in the drop. Unless you're up against Geneva, in which case like you don't even have to bother. But overall, this deck doesn't really dump a lot of things itself until you start trying to like get the aggro going. But otherwise, this is my preference on a life-based combo, just because it activates sooner. And although it doesn't have any combo power beforehand, we try not to use it up. And I could again switch out for 2, but I kind of just prefer having the bomber in the deck. So just how it is. Next, we have 4 copies of Paragus Coin the Beast. So it's a 2-drop. It has opponent of cards in your battle area cannot be placed in the drop by your skills. So protection against your leader for your battle cards. And his auto is when you play it, you draw a card. So kind of adds back to your hand once you play him, and it keeps your board safe, so your opponent's just being punished for your leader and you're just like, okay, draw a card, you lose a card, you lose a battle card, I'm fine. And ideally play more than 1 Paragus if you can, just because your opponent will try to get rid of him as quick as possible. So it's like, if I have multiple, I don't have to worry so much. Next, we have 2 copies of Sun Goten, bring it down a bit, Family of Justice. So this guy has the auto of during your turn, when you combo with this card, choose up to 1 of your opponent's battle cards with an energy cost of 3 or less and KO it. So it's just a bit of board removal. It does cost 1 to combo, which is important to remember, even though it's 5k. It's because you get this nice handy auto, and just being able to pop something on combo is good, because you could be like, well, I can't really attack at this thing, but I can pop it. So whilst I'm attacking with something else, I'll pay 1 and blow it up. Can't be done during your opponent's turn, which kind of balances it out, because you could just be like, oh no, it's attacking me, pay 1, kill it, yay. So, just a nice bit of board removal during your turn. Next, I will explain the last two 1-drops together. So we got a one-off copy of Soulful Strike Tien and a one-off copy of Tactical Victory Vegeta. So the Tien, it has the auto of when you combo with this card, your leader is green, choose a card from your hand and place it in the drop, then you choose one of the following effects. So you either choose up to 3 battle cards with an energy cost of 3 or more and 35 power or less in your drop and place them to the bottom of your deck in any order. Or you choose one battle card in your opponent's drop area and place it into your opponent's deck, then your opponent shuffles their deck. So this is good against things that rely on having certain cards in the drop or having certain cards in certain areas of the deck. So like Janemba has a lot of things that are going back, like a lot of Janembas go back to the bottom, and you have Psyche Demon which plays one from the bottom, so you're like, okay, well I'll combo Tien, put a random thing in to make you shuffle your deck, so now it's more risky if you want to play the Psyche Demon that way. Again, it refuels your deck, so like Janemba again, or just any other thing that's causing you to mill out, you can be like, well, I'll put these back in so that I have cards in my in my deck. Or if you're just decking out, you're like, oh, well, better refuel quickly. The Vegeta has the auto of when you play this card, choose it to one field in your opponent's battle area and place it in the nearest drop. So, purely in there for field removal. Quite a few decks have fields that they like to run or they rely on. Like this deck, for example, has Broly's Ring. There's some things in the future that will probably rely on fields as well. And like you'll have, say, red decks might run Planet M2 just because it's like, well, I have the space and the energy to do it, so Planet M2, take a -5. So this gets around it, because it's like, actually, no, I don't want you having that out. I'm going to pop it. So, but again, it's one of those cards you can easily change out if it's not really being used. So, now we'll move on to the 4-drops. And to start with, we have 3 copies of Combo Killer Analyzer. So it's got its full cost 20k, has Barrier and Double Strike, and the auto once per turn when the opponent combos, they choose one card in their hand and place it in their drop area. So punishment for combo, always handy. The fact that it's got Barrier means that you can just leave it in like active mode until you need to kind of push for the double strike. Like you generally, and like I do it, and I think everyone just kind of does it when you play this card, is you play out as many copies as you can, and then when your opponent's on like 2 or less life and their hand is getting depleted, you're like, cool, swing them, because it's basically do or die. Like if I don't swing these, then you probably come back and beat me, but chances are that Analyzer's hit the hand hard enough. And again, just hand destruction is useful anytime they combo, so it's not just combo from hand, it can be a battle card that they send off, like, cool, lose a card. And if their hand's low enough, then they basically have to kind of juggle if they negate and what they should combo and how they can combo effectively during that turn. So it's just a nice bit of punishment, which we always like. Next, we have 3 copies of Deathless Warrior Broly. So, like I said, 4-drop 20k. He's evolved for 3 green energy on top of a Broly. It has the perk of when evolving this card into a Broly with a different card name from your hand, the evolve cost is decreased by 2 green. So anything that evolves on top of this that isn't Deathless Warrior pays 2 less green energy. That is required. By not like, oh, I just pay 2 less green energy, it only costs 2, I play it for free. It has to specify needing green energy for it to be reduced. And it has the auto of when you play this card, if your lead card is Broly, your opponent may choose one of their battle cards and place it and KO it. Why am I struggling with that for some reason? If they don't KO a card this way, Instead, they choose 2 cards from the hand and place them in the drop. So if they don't have a battle card, they just lose 2 cards, simply put. If they do, they have to choose to either get rid of it or not. And it's just a nice bit of punishment and board removal. And it's an easy way to get out our 7 drop, to be fair. So, next for 4 drops, we have 2 copies of Hidden Awakening Kale. So it's 4 drop 20k, has critical. The first auto is when you play this card, choose up to one of your opponent's battle card. Choose one of your battle cards. I don't know why I said opponents. I'm jumping ahead of myself. Then choose any number of your opponent's battle cards, which total cards cost adds up to 5 or less, and KO them. So you can just get rid of a bunch of little things, or say a 5 drop that doesn't have barriers. Just like cool, gone. You do have to sacrifice a battle card for that, but I guess if KO's your only one, you could sacrifice her, and the auto still triggers because during the resolve. So it's just a nice bit of board removal. Secondary auto is when this card attacks, if you have 5 less cards in your hand, you draw 1. So just a nice way to build up hand as well if you're struggling. And of course, crit is always a bugger to deal with. So it's a nice bit of pressure to have in the deck. Moving on now to the 7 drop, we have 3 copies of Broly the Supreme Berserker. So, like I said, 7 drop, 30k power, has evolved for 2 green and 3 of any energy on top of Broly. So, just to add a bit of elaboration, because there was a couple of questions about it. The way this evolve works is you pay 2 green and 3 of any energy, so it could be 3 more green, or it could be a blue, a green, and a red, or by multi-cut. So long as you pay 3 other energy alongside 2 green, you can evolve it onto any Broly. So it can evolve onto this one, or it could evolve onto itself, or it could evolve onto, say, that guy. So long as you pay the cost of 2 green and then 3 for any other of your energy. So that's just a basic quick rundown on evolve. It has critical and barrier, and its auto is once per turn burst 5, so mill 5. When this card attacks, if your lead card is a Broly card, choose one of the following effects. So if your opponent has 3 or less cards in their hand, you switch them to active mode. However, if your opponent has 4 or more cards in their hand, they reveal their hand, then you choose one from their hand and place it in the drop. So you mill the 5 and you can either restand him for another 30k in crit, or you can just be like, well, I'm going to take this out of your hand and go with that. But because that activates then, they can counter it and you can still do those effects as long as you declare that you're doing the auto. But if they decide not to counter it, it's like, cool, I'll do that, then you can combo, then they can combo. So it can hurt their comboing. So now we're moving on to the 8 drops, and to start with we have 4 copies of Super Saiyan 3 Broly Saiyan Berserker. So he's an 8 drop, 35k power. He has if you have any non-green cards in your areas other than deck, hand or life, you can't play it from any area. To elaborate, I think they did a quick errata on this, but to basically word it, anywhere that's visible to you and your opponent, especially your opponent, because, well, anywhere that's visible to your opponent, I should say, because your hand is visible to you, obviously. But anywhere that your opponent can see your cards, there cannot be anything but green in order to play him, like, onto the field. You can still dump him and combo him. No, actually, you might not be able to combo him. Not that I had that issue, because this deck tries to be mono green, unless you have to side deck stuff in. But if your opponent can see that area and search through it and finds a card that isn't green, you can't play him. But if it's in your, so like if you have a further instruction Champer in your hand, and this guy, you can play him because your opponent is like the opponent can't go, can I check your hand for green? Because that's not what's going on here, and technically it's illegal because you're giving them information when they shouldn't be having it. Well, I say illegal, it's against the rules, but you know, rules of law basically. So anyone that's visible to your opponent must have green cards. So anyway, he has the active main of paying 4. You choose a Broly's ring in your battle area, place it in the drop, and then you play this guy from your hand. Then his first auto is, when you play this card, choose up to 1 green Broly with an energy cost 1 green Broly in your hand with an energy cost 7 or less and play it. So ideally you pick this guy because he's got a 7 and he costs a lot to get out anyway, so it's like playing for free. His secondary auto is, when this card is placed in your drop area from your hand by a skill and your leader is a Broly card, choose up to 1 Broly's ring from your deck, activate it, shuffle your deck, then if you do, you choose 1 or 2 cards from your life and add them to your hand. So ideally you have him in like your first hand, or turn 1 or 2, ideally you want to be dumping this guy for this effect, playing the Broly's ring from deck, and then you play another one a little later once you got 7 drop and enough energy to do it, and maybe a bit spare just so you're not being like all or nothing this turn. But yeah, advisably you hard mulligan into one of these to do that on your first turn. Well, on the first turn you can swing your leader, I should say. And the last of the 8 drops is our ultimate, Broly Ultimate Agent of Destruction, which, because it's an ultimate, you can only have 1 in the deck. He has 40k power, double strike and dual attack, and his first auto is, when one of your green battle cards, an energy cost of 7 or more, is removed from battle area by skill or KO'd, you activate this skill. You may choose all other cards in your hand other than this one, place them in your drop, and if you do so, you play from your hand. So in this deck, it's, if this guy or this guy are KO'd or removed from battle area by any means, you dump your hand and play him out from it. And he has a secondary auto of, when this card attacks, if your life is at 1, your opponent chooses all cards in their hand and places them in their drop area. So if you're kind of going all or nothing with this guy, like, right, I'm on 1, swing, effect, lose your hand, take 2. If they don't die, then you go swing, rinse, repeat until they die. You try and do it whilst they're on like 2 or 3 life, just so they either instant die from it, or you just can't punch them because why not? Be sadistic. So that's the main deck. One thing I'm going to do now is go through the side deck, because this was the deck I took to Euros. So there's 2 of Dende new to the job. So deflect, auto when you play him, draw a card, active main, pay 2, place this in your drop. If your opponent places a card in their energy using a skill during this game, choose up to one of your opponent's energy and place it in the drop. So just a way around ramp. Not much else to say. I decided in if I really need to. Try not to because it's not green. We have 2 of Kami Global Unifier. Again, deflect, auto when you play it, draw a card, active main, pay 2. If your opponent has 4 more battle cards in play, you choose all of yours and your opponent's battle cards, range cost of 4 or less, ignoring barrier, and KO them. So if your opponent's spamming out a board and you've got cards to lose or no board, just like, cool, for 3 energy I'm going to nuke field with Kami, provided that they're within range. So it was literally just in there in case I went up against like a Veggies deck or anything that just spams out little things. I'm like, cool, get rid. Next there's 2 copies of Mercenary Tower Ruthless Trainer. So he has barrier, permanent. If your opponent's leader is green or yellow, you reduce cost of his card in your hand by 1, so it becomes a 1 drop. And he has it also once per turn. When a card in your hand is placed in your drop area by an opponent's skill, your opponent chooses 3 cards from their hand and sends them to their warp. So if I went up against hand destruction myself, I would slide this in and just be like, right, I don't need you destroying my hand, I'm just going to carry on blowing yours up. And you just spring tower on them, so that the next time you try to discard, they're like, oh, what 3 cards can I lose, if they have enough cards to lose. I mean, if you're smart, you just try and like have your only card in your hand be a discard thing, so then tower's basically useless. But, meh. Again, we have a 1-on-1 of Tien and Vegeta in the side deck, purely in case I need to add more refuel, or I need to add more field destruction. And you can kind of swap one for the other in the deck as well. So, but I didn't want 2 of both of them in the deck just because it would congest a bit. It's like, well, if I have 1-on-1, then it's a good split. I know what side in out basically. Next, there is 2 copies of Deadly Defender Android 18. So, it's got 3 cost, 20k, barrier, and during your opponent's turn, if your leader is green and this is in rest mode, your opponent's cards can't attack your leader and this card gains minus 5k. So, you swing a bit in your turn, opponent's turn comes along, it's like, right, this is 15k, but you can't hit my leader until this is gone. And because it has barrier, it means that they can't just be like, oh, well, I pop it with an effect, unless it's like Kami. But this deck doesn't really build a board out, so Kami's not really in range of that. Anything else that pops a battle card with barrier, it's probably going to target this down. But it's just a way to slow down some aggro and keep you safe. Next, there's a one-off Godstrike Beerus. So this is a 2-cost combo card that gives you 10k, but the reason for it is the auto, which is when you combo with this card, choose one of your opponent's choose one keyword skill on one of your opponent's battle cards and negate it for a duration of turn. So I only run the one of this because a lot of the time I'm using up either all my energy or I'm keeping like 1 or 2 for counters. Well, Beerus is just in there in case your opponent's playing something that's quite devastating, so like you might have dual attack or triple strike and it's just like, cool, I'll pay the 2, get rid of that. And then either you just carry on with whatever's going on, but it just gives you a bit of a safety net around things that are quite gruesome.
And you also get 10k combo.
Yeah, and you get 10k combos, Matt just said. So, next we have 2 Further Instruction Champer, which has the auto when you combo with this card, choose which one of your attacking cards and it gains double strike for the duration of the battle. So, a bit risky to run with the ISR, but it's just purely in there for cases of aggro and like kill turns.
The ISR should probably be on the board by the time you do that, in theory.
Yeah, ideally you'd have the ISR on the board or already in the drop, so it doesn't matter, because this either combos with it to make it 45 double striker or combos with something else. It's just in there as a press unit. If your opponent's taking cards out your hand or you're having to throw things or put things in charge, you hold on to this with dear life. If you're up against the mill deck, do not put this in, because chances are you'll mill on and it will kind of screw your strategy out the window. So don't put it in if you don't want the risk. And finally, there's 2 of Preemptive Strike. So similar to Hidden Power Saiyans, it's counterplay of if your leader's green and your opponent plays a battle card that has an original energy cost of 4 or less, it goes into their drop instead of being played. So this is a guaranteed removal, but with a lower target range. And because it doesn't do hand destruction, I didn't want to run it in the main deck. I put it in the side in case my opponent's playing a lot of low cost stuff and they have the hand to just burn. It's like, okay, well, you don't care about your hand. Everything of yours tends to be low cost. So I'll do Preemptive Strike instead, because then you're just losing out. there's no benefit for you. You're like, oh wow, I dumped 2, but guess what? I get this effect off. It's like, no, this is coming in, and you might decide to Tau in because you run Hidden Power Saiyans, and like, oh well, perfect counter. Haha, got you. I discard 2, keep my card, and you lose 3 cards. It's like, yeah. Or you could just lose the card. Nothing else. Ended story. But yes, that is the side and main deck for the Green Broly. So, thank you for watching. Also, thank you for sticking through for this long. Leave your thoughts in the comments below about what you think and what you do with the deck. I do enjoy reading them, and it's good constructive criticism for us as well. And I'll see you next time.
You suck.
That's me. Bye.